We are driving back from Florida right now on Labor Day weekend. You know, it's funny, last Labor Day weekend we were in Florida because it was Alex's last weekend before he left for OCS. This Labor Day weekend we were celebrating Thomas's mother's birthday, surprise party. And we're all the way back, and I'm driving because Thomas drove down, so it's my turn to drive up. And Thomas made a good point that I would like to, put a decent amount of videos out there about my experience in grad school and ABA, because I don't think there's a lot of videos out there specifically about ABA. Maybe like medical school or nursing school or like OT grad school. I've seen some on that, but I don't think I've ever seen anything on ABA. So part of one of my goals is to put more videos out there about a student perspective about being in school for ABA, because I would have really liked to have that. So this video is going to be about my first year of grad school and how it went, what classes I took, what practicum sites I was at, and how I felt like I grew during that year. So to start with, I'll go over the classes I had. In fall, I had ABA 1, which is basically behavior acceleration, so skill acquisition stuff. I had single case design class or methods, which is a lot of studying different types of single case designs, single subject case designs, so multiple baseline designs, reversal designs, changing criterion designs, alternating treatments, multi-element designs, that kind of thing, and being able to identify graphs and what can be considered empirically supported, 3-5-20 rule for anybody who's already taken a class like that, stuff like that. And then the last class that we take every semester is a practicum class. So it's kind of how we're doing in our practicum. Are we performing well? Are we doing what's required of us? And then also learning some, professional skills, like how to behave professionally as a behavior analyst, maybe picking up some skills like in class that maybe we're not quite getting in our practicum that we request. And then talking about consideration for developing a career in behavior analysis, if that makes sense. I did well in all of those classes. I felt really good about them. I really enjoyed methods. I think methods is a little bit harder than ABA 1. ABA 1, I think, had more work in it, like more assignments in it, and we had a test every week, I think, and we had we read more articles in ABA 1. In methods, we read a textbook mostly and a few articles. Methods wasn't difficult because of the amount of work. It was difficult more because of the concepts. I think were a little bit more challenging than ABA 1 concepts. And then my practicum site for the fall was a clinic in Columbus, Georgia. Yeah, it was good. I think that first year, or that first semester was like, okay, get on your feet of being in grad school and learn what's required and how to be successful and how to use time wisely throughout the semester in order to make good grades and in order to make time to, be successful in practicum and be successful in class and balance those two things. I think that's kind of what the first semester was about, and getting to know the rest of my cohort, which was really fun. We went to a lot of football games together. And then in the spring semester, I took ABA 2, which is behavior deceleration, dealing with problem behavior, basically, and I took behaviorism. If you're currently in an ABA grads program or you're considering it and you're wondering what books we had, for methods, we had a book by Kasdan, and then for behaviorism, we had a book by Baum, and then for ABA 1 and 2, of course, we had the White Book or Cooper, Heron, and Heward, not surprisingly, and then articles as well. So behaviorism, I think a lot of people have trouble with behaviorism because, like that as a class, because it's very philosophical. It's learning about the philosophy of our science, and it's learning about the history of our science, and you're not necessarily learning procedural skills or procedural knowledge. You're learning more declarative knowledge and how to think better and how to think like a scientist and how to think like a behavior analyst. And so that class is more discussion based. We didn't have any tests, we just had quizzes. It was very discussion based, and we had some articles and we learned about how behaviorism applies outside of like developmental disabilities, which I think is the largest sort of area for ABA currently. We learned more about the behaviorism or behaviorists or behaviorism approach to a lot of issues in the world, like terrorism and global warming and pollution and things like that. I really, really enjoyed that class. I think it's challenging for some people. because maybe I don't think everybody enjoys that type of class that's more discussion based. I personally really enjoyed it, and it helped me definitely learn how to think better. I don't think the purpose of that class is to teach you how to teach you any specific skills. I think it's just specifically to teach you how to think better and more analytically. So you learn about pragmatism and radical behaviorism and contextual behaviorism and teleological behaviorism and parsimony and those things and where it comes from, and I find that stuff very interesting. I personally think that that kind of stuff is beneficial for practitioners. So then we also took ABA 2. ABA 2, like I said, was about behavior deceleration. We learned about FAs. We had to have a lot of discussions in class about FAs. We discussed a lot of punishment procedures and the ethical decisions and perspectives and considerations that behavior analysts need to make when deciding to use punishers or punishment-based procedures and that kind of thing. We actually had a debate surrounding punishment, which was very interesting, like a class debate, some people defending punishment and some people opposing punishment, and it was really cool to be able to do that. So I really enjoyed that. And then as part of that class, we actually we were split into groups of like 2 and 3, and then we were assigned to work on a case that was referred for problem behavior, and like write up and like do descriptive assessments, do indirect assessments, conduct an FA, and then write a full FBA report. And that was really cool. I think it was an extremely good skill for all of us to have. I don't think that everybody maybe gets the opportunity to do something like full-fledged dealing with problem behavior in that way, maybe in their program, but I think it was really important for us to walk through all of those steps of this is how you solve problem behavior and get started on the path to a treatment plan. I think that kind of stuff is really important, and walking through all of those steps. So sometimes you do an FA or for those of you who are wanting functional analysis, if you want to read what that is, look up Iwata et al. I think it's 1982/1994, and that'll give you a lot of information. There are a lot of different types of FAs, and I felt like in the spring, on top of that FA assignment that we had, in addition to that, I was working my practicum placement was in the clinic on campus. And so you can imagine that the cases that end up getting referred to a university clinic are the cases that maybe local and regional behavior analysts found more challenging. There is a lot more problem behavior that you're dealing with in a university clinic. And so I think in the spring, I probably did a total of like 6 or 7, maybe even 8 different functional analyses, all on different behaviors, but all, of course, on problem behaviors and then different types. So I did traditional FAs and latency FAs. I haven't done a trial-based FA yet. I haven't needed to do that, and I also haven't done like a precursor behavior FA because I haven't needed to do that either, but on all different behaviors. Eloping, disrobement, aggression, property destruction, all those things. So, and then learning to write a lot of reports in the clinic. So I thought that class was really good for us as practitioners, because I think obviously it's one of the hardest things that you can deal with as a behavior analyst is problem behavior. As far as what I learned in spring semester, I think that the university clinic, we had a lot more hours. It was a lot more intensive. It was like, the rate with which cases progress was a lot faster in that clinic. And it was also up to us as, I felt like I shared a lot of cases with one of my classmates, but we together had more control over that case. If we were going to make decisions or if we were going to put in place protocols, it was all our responsibility to write them. And if you don't write them, then they don't get written, and then that behavior doesn't get solved, and the progression of the case is very much up to us, but there's an expectation that progression of cases is a lot faster than it probably would be typically. And so I felt like I learned a lot of skills during that time, like a lot of different skills. So writing protocols for a lot of different things, treatment protocols for problem behavior, learning how to do a reinforcer assessment, learning how to do different types of preference assessments, which that's not really an advanced skill, but that was important. Learning how to graph data effectively, learning how to design different types of FAs for the correct type of behavior, because that kind of thing depends on the behavior. Learning how to write monthly reports, learning how to write final reports, all that kind of thing. I think I learned how to do more in my second semester than in my first semester, and all of that was really interesting. On top of everything that we had going on with school, in the fall semester, we had our state ABA conference to go to, and that was really cool. And Alabama doesn't currently, or Alabama just changed the laws so that insurance is required to cover ABA services for individuals with autism within the state. But prior to that, that wasn't the case, and so a lot of families went without ABA services. So our state conference, our state association is pretty small compared to other states. Like Calaba is very big, and FABA apparently is supposed to be very big, but Alaba is pretty small. There aren't like multiple talks going on, there's just one in a ballroom of a hotel. And it's really cool because the majority of, I think at least, that the majority of behavior analysts in the state of Alabama are Auburn alum, and so it's really cool to go and think, wow, like I'm here and there's just such a great presence from my school, and so I feel comfortable, you know, if I ever, one day when I become a behavior analyst working in Alabama, knowing that like most likely the people that I work with will have a very similar education and similar skill set and similar expectations as me, which is really nice going into the workplace to know that. And that Auburn has a good reputation within the state, of course. I got to meet a lot of really cool people. That was really cool. A lot of like authors that we read from our ABA 1 class and all those articles, a lot of people from that were at Alaba as speakers. So like Claire St. Peter Pipkin, Kaya Miguel, Ray Miltonberger, all those people were there. It was really cool to see. And then quite a few of like last year's cohort had posters. So it was cool to talk to them about how their fellowship is going, what they enjoy, what they don't enjoy, where they're going after the fellowship, are they staying at the side of their fellowship, all that kind of thing. Just to remind everybody, the program I'm in works is that all of us that come in have fellowships. So a company pays for our tuition up front, and then it's a 2-year program, so we owe them, we go work for that company 2 years, for 2 years after we graduate. The trick of it is, though, that we know which companies have paid for fellowships, and we know how many each company has, so one company could pay for multiple students to come to them after graduation. However, we don't know where we're going, so we know the possibilities of where we could end up going. We know that we could end up going to Birmingham or Tampa, but we don't know which place we're going to move to yet. And so in the early spring, so like February or March, we'll interview with people from the company, I think, and then like we rank them in terms of where we want to go, and then they rank us in terms of who they want, and then we find out like right before we graduate where we're gonna go. So we know Birmingham or Tampa, but we don't know any more than that. That was cool. And then at the end of the spring semester, we had ABAI, which is the International Association for Behavior Analysts. And this year the conference was in Denver, Colorado. So I'd never been to Colorado before that, so that was a really cool experience. But on top of that, it's just such a huge conference. It's so, I mean, you know, there's just tons and tons of people there, and tons of talks going on. It's in a convention center and a hotel. They have to take out both places, and you get to choose. Like at Alaba, there's just, you don't choose talks. Everybody's going to the same talk because there's only one talk going on. But at ABAI, there's tons of talks going on constantly, so you get to pick what talks you want to go to. Right now, I'm more interested in like different smaller applications of ABA. So what is a behaviorist perspective on trauma? What does trauma mean behavior analytically, and a behavioral approach to trauma? How do we think about that? How do we consider it? Because I think we would be remiss as behavior analysts to say that trauma doesn't affect behavior. So I went to a talk on trauma. I went to a talk with Linda Hayes and Carol Pilgrim and a woman named Ramona, who I don't remember her last name because it's very hard to say, but she's an OBMer, and they talked about female leadership and behavior analysis. That was probably one of my favorite talks. I went to a talk on automatically reinforced behavior that had some people from UF and the Monroe Meyer Institute, I think, the University of Nebraska, I think. I went to a talk about physical behaviors, like physical fitness behaviors, exercise behaviors, with Ray Miltonberger and Matt Normand and one other person, with Pat Fryman and Anthony Littall and Ray Miltonberger about disseminating ABA, and Dick Malott wasn't on the panel, but he was in the room, so he contributed to the conversation, and that was really interesting. So yeah, just a lot of really different talks to go to. Depending on what practicum sites are at your program, I mean, I feel like my program has a lot of different practicum sites. Right now we have working in the local school district, that's a practicum site. We have a practicum site with DHR, which is my current practicum site. And then we have a practicum at Mount Meigs, which is a detention center for juvenile sex offenders. And those are all like the different practicum sites that you can go to at Auburn right now. I mean, that could change. I don't really know, but that's what it is right now. And I feel like that's a pretty good range of like populations and behaviors to work with. But depending on what's currently at your program, sometimes that can limit what experiences you have in practicing ABA. And so it's cool to be able to go to really large talks like that and hear from people about the ways that they're practicing ABA and different people's thoughts on ABA, and to be able to see those really big names in ABA talk about their perspectives in their work and that kind of thing. So that's, I don't know, you kind of get worn out from school, and like your whole life is just school and ABA, and ABA can kind of be like just this thing that's in your life. But then you go to a conference like that and your interest and your passion for it is sort of renewed in a way, which is always nice. Went to that in May. That was in Denver. And then for the summer semester, we had to do practicum, of course, and we had to take our practicum class. But then other than that, our only other class was actually a capstone class. So the program I'm in is a non-thesis master's, meaning we don't write a thesis, but instead we do a capstone project, which is like a research project. So we had to write, in this capstone class, we presented articles all semester long, and then we worked on our capstone. We did a literature review for our capstone topics. At the very end of the semester, we presented on like our proposed capstone project. So my capstone project is on eye contact, and before I decided that was my capstone, I was already working on it just because of the research lab I'm in. That was one of our projects this year, and then I was the only graduate student on it, so I decided, okay, well, this is going to be my capstone. So I already kind of had a jump start. Like a lot of my peers, they're getting their IRBs approved right now, and then they're going to run their research. But my research, I've already had 3 participants, and the IRB was written well before I got into the program, so that was really convenient. That's part of why I chose that as my capstone, because it's pretty convenient to do. I'm not in a doctoral program. I'm not trying to produce new research. I'm just trying to get it done right now, and it's laying right there in front of me. So I did that. I'm doing that as my capstone project. But overall, for my first year of grad school, I think I just learned a lot about thinking, how to think like a behavior analyst, how to make decisions like a behavior analyst with a lot of really close supervision. Like, Annika, are you thinking the way we want you to think? Can you explain why we're making these decisions? Like, my supervisor might say, okay, this is the next step we're going to take. Tell me why that's the next step we're going to take, in terms of conceptualizing cases and making decisions about cases and all that kind of thing. Okay, so currently, this summer I started a new practicum site with the DHR. Basically, the goal of this practicum site, this is a new practicum site, and the goal of it is to reduce the psychotropic medications that children in foster care are currently taking, and to work on their, a lot of times children are put on these psychotropic medications because of problem behavior, and to take them off those meds and then instead solve that problem behavior, work on it through using behavioral services. And so currently, the team that does this is called the Alabama Psychotropic Medication Review Team. Right now, the team is serving 7 counties in Alabama, so like Lee, Russell, Montgomery, Macon, and then a couple others. I don't know all. The point is that we're serving foster children, and I think it's really interesting. It's a lot of driving, but I mean, that's just part of the gig. That's fine. Driving through a lot of parts of like rural Alabama. That's been really fun. We work on so many, the range of children in foster care is so great, and they have such different needs that in this practicum site, I've worked on everything from like teaching a child their colors, to teaching a child how to do chores, to working with a child on a behavioral contract. Like, if you get a clean drug test, then, you can go out this weekend. That kind of thing. So it's really cool, and I think it's really widening my abilities and teaching me a lot of things that are not necessarily procedural, but like learning how to talk to parents more, because I have a lot more contact with parents. So learning how to talk to parents, how to explain behavioral principles, behavioral procedures, and ABA in general to parents. That's really important. And teaching parents how they can be behavior change agents for their child and improve their life and their child's life. That's what a lot of it is. So that's been really interesting, and it sounds cheesy. I don't mean to sound cheesy, but truly grateful for this experience, because I think it's hard to develop those skills when you're so focused on your behavior analytics skills. It's hard to develop skills in, talking to parents and all those kind of things. And I've luckily had a supervisor who gives me the opportunity to, and watches me do well or struggle, and then helps me to do better the next time I encounter an opportunity to practice whatever skill it is, whether it's talking to parents or talking to teachers or whatever. So I really enjoyed that. It's very interesting work just because you meet all kinds of people and all kinds of, you know, needs of cases, like I said, and it's, I don't know, I've really enjoyed it. This semester, well, this year, so second semester, it's a 5-semester program. I've already done 3 semesters, so I only have 2 semesters left. Holy cow, 8 months till I graduate, and about a year until I sit for my certification exam. This semester, I'm taking behavioral principles, which is pretty obvious, principles of behavior. But so some other programs I've heard of called, I think they call that class learning. It's more about like the principles, so we're not learning about like procedures of ABA or necessarily as these principles relate to people. It's more about experimental analysis of behavior, that kind of thing. So like operant chambers and pigeons and respondent and operant behavior or conditioning and learning and all that kind of thing. So it's very interesting. It's a very challenging class because I'm not used to thinking that way. And the other class I'm taking is ethics, which is a lot like behaviorism, and then it's a discussion-based class. It's a class I'm pretty sure we're required to take to be like a verified course sequence. That one's been interesting so far. I really like a lot of this. I don't know, I'm just one of those people who really enjoys discussion-based classes. I think they're really interesting. I think they, you know, if you have a good class and a good professor who's like organized your class well, I think the purpose of those classes is to challenge your beliefs in a safe and healthy way. So, you know, you can challenge classmates on like, why do you think this way? Why do we think this way? And our professors challenge us on like, why this is like customary, or this is a custom of our culture, but why is it a custom of our culture? Are we okay with that? And things like that, like really reconsidering the way we think and conduct our lives. I really enjoy that, and people challenge. I'm the type of person that likes to debate for the sake of debate, and I think that when you're open to being challenged in your beliefs is when you can say that you truly believe in your beliefs. If you can defend your beliefs, if you can rationalize your beliefs to someone else and your values, then you're probably believing in them for the right reasons. Maybe, hopefully. So I really enjoy classes like that. I think they help us grow as people and become better thinkers and respect other people's beliefs. That's what I get out of it. I never take offense to my classmates challenging me on my beliefs. I have that, all of my classmates, like that we challenge each other in a good way. Like it's coming from a good place. Like I don't want to challenge my classmates just to irritate them. I want to challenge them to help them become, you know, better people as well. Just like I hope they're challenging me so that I become a better person. What's different about this year is that we have first years. When you're in grad school, you spend a lot of time feeling kind of stupid. You realize how much you don't know and how much you have left to learn. Maybe it's hard for some people. I think it's something you just kind of get used to. It's like, but now we have first years, and the first years kind of like shadow some of us, and we help them. You know, there's a lot of things that professors can teach them, but like doing small things like printing data sheets or hour logs or writing an email, little things like that, you know, is kind of our responsibility as second years to help them get accustomed to that kind of thing and be successful in grad school. Having the first years there kind of helps you realize, kind of like a confidence boost, like, oh yeah, I did learn a lot this year. I really did, because look at how much I have to teach this other person, which is not at all to say that they're stupid. Obviously, we were all there at one point too, not knowing anything or how to do anything, and we had a lot to learn. But it's cool when you realize how much you've learned because you're having to help another person learn it, and you realize how far you've come. So hopefully in another year we'll have the same kind of realization of like, wow, look how far we've come even in our second year. I don't think this is a time for us to sit back and say like, oh, we've learned it all, just coasting through, waiting for graduation. No, not at all. We still need to grow and learn just as much as we did in our first year, if not more, because after this, you're off in the workforce. You're a behavior analyst. You're expected to be your own clinician, and no supervisor is going to be there to say, hey, no, you didn't do this right, or make sure you do this, or get a job. No. Now's the time to hone in on skills and learn a lot, you know? Yes, if anybody's wondering, I do want to get my PhD. I don't know for sure when or how that is going to happen yet. It is my full intention to get my PhD as soon as possible. I don't intend to put it off. I don't intend to work in the workforce for 10 plus years or 5 plus, not even 5 years. When I do fellowship, I intend to pursue a PhD as soon as that fellowship is over. I always had a goal of having my PhD by the time I was 30. I don't know if it's going to happen that soon, but we'll see. certainly before the age of 35. I think at the latest I could have it by the time I'm 32. And then at the end of that, or immediately after that, I want to have children. I don't want to wait a long time to have children. This has been my goal since we met in high school. Yeah, if anybody is currently thinking about grad school or currently in grad school in ABA and has any comments or questions, please leave them below. I don't know how much of a presence like ABA has on YouTube. I don't know if ABA necessarily needs to have a presence on YouTube, but you know, I learn a lot even from watching videos of students that aren't even in ABA, so I hope that this video helps someone in some kind of way. If it did, leave a comment down below. Otherwise, if you stuck through the video for this long, because this is a very long video, great, awesome, you're pretty cool. Maybe leave a comment down below saying I made it.
My arm hurts.
This was his idea. Okay, bye.